having a fearful dog is really hard to deal with. Fearful dogs, not only is it just a very stressful way for a dog to have to live their life, but it's dangerous, okay? Fearful dogs are the dogs that are most likely to bite. When you hear about aggressive dogs, the part that a lot of people leave out is that they're fear aggressive. The aggression comes from fear, okay? Because dogs, that's their response. When a dog gets put into a situation and they become afraid, they try to do one of two things. The first thing they're going to try to do is run away. Alright? They try to get out of the situation and avoid it completely. And if they can't get out of the situation and they can't avoid it, well, that's when they bite and they turn aggressive. Okay? So keep in mind, you have a fearful dog and you have them on a leash, for example, out in public, they can't get away. This is how leash aggression starts. If you are with a dog who has fear issues and you're locked in a room and he can't get away, he can't get out of that room to get away from that fear, that's how people get bitten. So keep in mind, working with a fearful dog, we want to make sure that they always have an escape. Alright? Now, I'm not saying that we can't ever take a fearful dog out on a leash. We're absolutely going to. I'm going to give you an example soon about how to do an exercise with that. But I want you to be aware that when he is out on a leash, that's because he can't choose to run away when he gets scared. You need to be the one who's responsible, that when you see those warning signs, the lip licking, the blinking rapidly, the looking away, we need to take the dog out of the situation, because otherwise it's going to escalate into aggression. Okay? Now, handling a fearful dog, there are a couple things that we want to do and that we want not to do. All right? The first thing that we don't want to do is we don't ever touch a fearful dog. When our dog is afraid, I know human instinct is to go, "Oh, it's okay, don't be afraid." But that's the worst thing you can do. Because when you touch your dog, and here's the second thing, we don't baby talk our fearful dog, right? Because when you're baby talking him and you're petting him and you're going, "Oh, it's okay, don't be scared," your dog's hearing, "Good boy, keep being scared, keep being afraid, that's good." You're giving him attention. You're reinforcing the fear. And that's not what we want. It's very important that when you're working with a fearful dog, your dog is going to look to you to see how you're reacting. And your reaction is going to directly affect your dog's fear. If you're going to your dog, "Oh, it's okay, don't be afraid," their fear level is going to go up because they think you're reinforcing the fear. What we want to do instead is we stay calm and quiet. Okay? When my dog has a fear and we come across something scary and we're out, on a walk and I have him on a leash and he sees it, I stand there and I just stand there and I wait. And I don't say anything. I let him look at it. I let him observe, and I stay calm. I make it seem like it's no big deal. And when I do talk to him, it's not in the happy voice, it's not in the baby voice. When it's time to go, "Come on, Max, no big deal. Oh, that's just a dumpster. You've seen dumpsters before. Come on, let's go." And I try to redirect him with a sound. Okay? But I stay calm. When you see somebody approaching you, and let's say your dog has a fear of skateboards. So you see a skateboard starting to approach you, and what is our instinct with our dog, who we know historically is afraid of skateboards and reacts to them? We wind up the leash really tight and we pull him close. And now we're saying to our dog, "Hey, get ready. Time to be afraid." Without even realizing it, we're signaling to the dog to be ready to be afraid. Skateboard gets closer, and now the dog either starts, barking aggressively because he can't get away, so he becomes aggressive, or he tries to pull and run away from the skateboard. And what do? We start talking to him, we start touching him, trying to calm him down. And what we've really done is just build up the fear more. Okay? If I see a skateboard approaching, what would I do? I would just stand there. I would get a good grip on my dog's leash because he's 115 pounds or so, and I would just stand there and I would wait for the skateboard to pass. I don't react. If he wants to pull and lunge at the skateboarder, as long as I know he can't reach him, then he can do it for now, because we're going to get to an exercise where we actually handle it. With fear, we don't try to force the dog. Alright? We do not force the dog into the fear. We don't force them to approach it. When you try to force an animal, a dog, to get over the fear, you're going to make it worse. One of the worst things that I see is people who've put shock collars on their dogs to try to address fear. Your dog has a fear of vacuum cleaners. So they put a shock collar on the dog, they pull out the vacuum. And every time that the dog gets fearful and lunges at the vacuum, they shock the dog. And then the dog sees the vacuum, gets scared again, and they lunges and they shock the dog. What adding positive punishment like that, giving a dog a correction for fear, it might in that moment suppress the fear behavior, but it's traumatizing your dog more. They might actually stop in that second, but their fear is not going away. The dog's view of that vacuum cleaner is not changing. They're just getting so mentally worn out that they can't focus on anything else anymore. They just shut down. So that's why we don't use force. Fear has to be treated very slowly. Okay? And it depends on what the fear is, how long the fear has been occurring, for how long it takes to fix it. Alright? So here's how we go about fixing fear. We want to get the dog to see that whatever that thing is that's making them afraid is actually something good. We want our dog to see that when they are around the, let's call it the bad object or the bad trigger, okay? And this is what makes them scared. That when they see the bad trigger, we want to change that to mean good. Alright? That is the goal with fear. Here's an example of what I did with my dog. Now, when he was a puppy, I failed to socialize him to skateboarders. We saw maybe 3 or 4 in the first, year, because I'm just not around a lot of skateboarders. As the time went on, he developed a really big fear. Anytime that somebody would come on a skateboard, coming down the street, when we would be walking, he would become fear aggressive. He was on the leash, he couldn't get away, so he would lunge and bark and bite because he was afraid. He was saying, "Hey, you stay away." That's what growling and barking is with a fearful dog. It's them saying, "Get away, don't make me bite you." Alright? So I want to turn that bad trigger into something good. I want my dog to see that skateboarders are a good thing. So what we did is we went to a skateboard park. And we started about maybe 100 feet away. Right? So the skateboard park was there, and we were about 100 feet away. And what we would do is very slowly, increasingly get closer and closer to the skateboard park over time, but we would do it at a rate that my dog was comfortable at. Now, I wanted to make sure that my dog sees that skateboarders are a good thing. So what we would do is, let me draw this out for you guys here. I would go to the skateboard park, and I would take with me a bag of treats. Now, not human treats, I'm sorry, not dog treats, but human treats. Food that was for, humans. Very high reward things. Like chicken, like hot dogs, alright? Very, very good things. Chicken, hot dogs, cheese I used. Okay? And the only time that my dog got these high-level rewards is when we were working around the fearful thing. Okay? So, I got my special human treats, and then we went to the skateboard park, alright? Skateboard park over here, and 50 feet away was me and Max, or 100 feet away or so. About 100 feet. Max and I were over here, alright? There's my little, there's Max, alright? So, we were about 100 feet away. And the skateboarders were over there doing their thing. And this was the distance that my dog could look at the fearful object, right? This is the skateboarders, and this is the fear, okay? So it took 100 feet of distance for my dog to be able to see the skateboarders and not react. So we sat here 100 feet away, and I waited for my dog to look at the skateboard. The second he looked, good boy, treat. Then he looked again, good boy, treat. He looked again, good boy, treat. And we did this every single day for, I would do about 30 to 40 repetitions. And, you know, I say this is good stuff up here. Treats can be small, okay? It's not the fact that you're giving your dog an entire chicken breast per reward. It can be the size of, a penny size. It's just the fact that your dog got something is the reward. It's not about the size. So even though I'm saying use these really good treats, a hot dog, you should be able to, slice it down the middle and then slice it again in half, each half into half. That's how small pieces you can be using. So I would usually go for like one hot dog or so per training session, which really isn't that bad. Okay, so we would do this, and we would be here at 100 feet, and every time my dog looked over, good boy, we give him a treat. Good boy, we give him a treat. And we stayed at 100 feet for about 1 week. All right? And then after a week, I saw that my dog was starting to get better. So what did we do? We moved up. So the next week now, we went from 100 feet, very, very slowly. We moved up, and we went to maybe about 80 feet. And that was probably even pushing it. I should have probably only gone about 10 feet at a time. But I had a good sense of how he was doing, so I pushed it. But we went slow. The point here is I didn't go from 100 feet right up to the fence, okay? At 80 feet now, we did the same thing. My dog looked over, he saw a skateboard, he didn't react fearfully, that's a good dog, I gave him a treat. Did it again, looked over, skateboard, good dog, didn't react, give him a treat. And what I was doing this whole time is getting him to see that thing that he was previously fearful of, that fear is now a good thing. That fear now means you're getting chicken, you're getting hot dogs, you're getting cheese, alright? But we go slow. So we were at 80 feet for a week, and after another week we went to 60, 70 feet. And then after that, down to 50, then 40. And after about 2 months or so, we were right up at the fence. My dog looks at the skateboards, and he looks to me. Where's my chicken? Where's my food? Come on, don't you see me? I'm looking at the skateboards, and I'm not doing anything. I love these guys. Give me something good. And it takes time, but we've changed the association. We've taught the dog that when you see skateboards, something good is going to happen. Okay? Now, the key with this, and I'm talking about the distance here, is you have to go slow. This is critical. You cannot rush a fear. You cannot force your dog to instantly get over fear. And again, depending on how bad the fear is and how long it's been going, you're going to have to go at different rates. All right? Now, you can apply the same thing with any fear. Your dog has a fear of a vacuum cleaner. So what do? You set the vacuum cleaner in one corner of the house, and you start, down the hallway where your dog can see it, or if your dog comes into the room where he can see it. And you stand right next to it, or next to your dog rather, and every time he looks at the vacuum, and this is with the vacuum off, and he looks and he doesn't react, good boy, you give him a treat. He looks at the vacuum again, good boy, you give him a treat. You do that for a week. And then after a week, you try to walk up closer, and you do the same thing. He looks, good boy, you give him a treat. Good boy, you give him a treat. And then in a few more weeks, he's checking it out nose to nose. And same thing, every time he looks and sniffs it, good dog treat. Sniffs it, good dog treat. And then after that, we started moving it. We moved the vacuum cleaner while it's off. We don't even turn it on, we just move the vacuum cleaner. And every time your dog looks at it and doesn't react, when I say react, I mean he doesn't show signs of fear or aggression. He doesn't try to run away, he doesn't bark at it, he doesn't try to bite it. He remains calm, okay? So now we move the vacuum while it's off, and your dog's not reacting. That's a good dog. Every time he looks at the vacuum being moved, we give him a treat. And then finally we turn on the vacuum, and we move it. And your dog looks at the moving vacuum that is now on, doesn't react, and by this point he's saying, hey, where's my treat? Alright? So you can apply this to basically any fear behavior. Alright? We want the goal here with fear is turning the fear into something positive. Getting our dog to see that whatever you're afraid of, hey, it's really not that scary, okay? But again, and I keep saying this, but because it's so important, you have to go slow. There is no magic trick that I can tell you that speeds up the process for a fearful dog. We have to go slow. We never force them into a situation that they're not ready for. People who have adopted shelter dogs, or if you do like fostering dogs, those dogs are very common. It's very common to see fear behaviors and traumatic things with those dogs because who knows what happened in their past. Now, treating fear, people will tell me, oh, this dog was abused this, and this happened to him. The bottom line is, it really doesn't matter what happened, because regardless of what happened, regardless of how badly they were abused, regardless of why their fear developed, they have a fear. And no matter what it is, we treat it the same way, okay? So, this is fear. Again, I'm going to say it one last time, go slow. You have to go slow, take your time, work with your dog, and have patience to get them over whatever it is that they are fearful of. Aggression, very common behavior problem, and there's two parts to this, because leash aggression is a word that kind of gets thrown around, and it's not always aggressive.